African American history and slavery has had a large impact on the types and styles of dances that we have today. Quickly after Americans were brought over from Africa, they were stripped of their identities and banned from various forms of self expression. For some of them, dance was all they had. In ancient African history, dance was a common spoken language for them to remember where they came from. Many of these dances were brought over and practiced through African American communities. One of the very first styles of dance was the Juba dance. It originated in early 1700s and involved stomping, slapping, and patting of the chest, arms, legs, and cheeks. This dance was a way for enslaved Africans to remember where they came from. This dance was important because it was formed to keep the culture alive by embracing inner freedom amongst the African American community. The step dance, oftentimes performed by black fraternities and sororities, originates from this dance. Soon after, it became to be known as the cakewalk. The cakewalk dance was performed to the slave owners but was secretly created to be a parody of Southern high society. Their dances were in a way to come together and make fun of them in such a hard time of oppression of African people. Years later, a dance known to be the Charleston came about. The Charleston dance was named by a city in South Carolina where it originated on a Broadway show and was first performed by Josephine Baker in the early 1920s. This dance was typically performed to an upbeat music and stood for embracing individuality and freedom, especially for women who now had the freedom to kick their heels and move their legs. Soon after, during the 1950s, jazz became popularized as many African Americans were gaining the freedom to express themselves. With the era of jazz, so came jazz dance. Many of the dances performed in jazz originates from African vernacular dances such as the cakewalk, black bottom, Charleston, jitterbug, boogie woogie, and swing dancing. The next dance was known to be called the twist. It was originated back in the 19th century and brought to America from the Congo through slavery. But it was brought to be popularized by Chubby Checkbar and Dick Clark, then became a craze all around the world. Then became the disco and soul train era, where social and line dances became extremely popular. During this time, many black communities participated in group dances where many of the old school dance moves were recreated and emphasized to create a fun, collective, and group activity that readily became a part of black culture. Soon after, in the late 70s and early 80s, became the emergence of hip-hop, and along with it hip-hop dance. The underground urban movement known as hip-hop began to develop in the South Bronx in New York City. Many of the dances of hip-hop were created to express individuality, struggle, and triumph amongst the African American community. Many of these dances, again, originated from dances from the early 60s and 70s. These were a combination of all or some of the dances expressed throughout African American history.